Good afternoon and welcome to the Lunchtime Series with me, Kevin Britz, leading the charge with insights, information, and ultimately effective results. Joining me in today's leadership and coaching segment is a renowned South African author, speaker, trainer, and facilitator, life coach, and firewalking instructor who's dedicated to helping individuals, business leaders, and people with disabilities. Over the past decade, he's worked with hundreds of individuals and local and international leaders, teams, and organizations to achieve peak performance. In today's segment, welcome Cobus Visser, the Viking. How you doing, Cobus?
Kevin, thanks for having me here today. It's always good to see you and spend time with you. You're one of those amazing people that I always looked up to and had the opportunity to work with during COVID, and always followed your journey.
Thanks.
You're an amazing dad. You're an amazing person, and yeah, I think we've learned a lot from each other, and we had such a great opportunity to have a great impact on the people that we serve.
Yeah, I mean, just while we reminisce, I remember going, we worked with the Western Cape Educational Department on and impacting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, well, thousands possibly, teachers in the Western Cape Education Department. So, and even in that experience, like I remember you speaking and sharing some of your insights on one of the practices. I'm going to get it wrong now. Your power circle. Is it the power circle?
Yes.
And I remember, and still today, when the opportunity arises, I'll share it with guys. This is, and some people's like, oh, what, you're going to throw this imaginary circle in on the floor? That's ridiculous. Until they do it, like, oh, now you're suddenly experiencing all things. So I fondly remember that as well. We've known each other for some time now.
Yeah, it's been a time, and I think just shows you how powerful these tools are that we so use, and not only in our own life, but teaching other people. And I think there's this moments. It's about making memories. I mean, you will always remember this journey, even if one day when we're walking with our walking sticks and bump into each other, it's like, oh, do you remember the day? And I think for people to realize is that there's one life, and it's to create memories, is because memories is what you remember. You don't remember everything that you've done in life, but that few things that you've done with those you love and for yourself. Because my dad usually says it's like gathering firewood. The more wood we gather during our lifetime, it's that, like, when we are old, it becomes our wood that we put on the fire to keep our souls warm, because they think that's the only thing we got, and that's memories. So how can we create more memories?
Yeah, I love that. I love that, and I think it's part of why I do the lunchtime series is because part of my value system is learning, right? And for me, by people sharing their stories and by people giving insights and sharing insights and what they've done. And for me, it's part of, I have this entire, I think I was looking the other day, of the last 5 years, I've done over 600 episodes of the Lunchtime Series. And it's, looking at what that takes and that kind of commitment. Some people's like, how the hell do you do that? Like, because that's some serious commitment. And someone the other day said to me, you realize that most podcasts only get past 25 episodes. I was like, really? I was like, well, then I'm doing something right. But it's to have a voice of a certain kind, just to kind of go, well, here's a conversation that was really profound. And there's little nuggets of that I take away from memories that I've had just sitting having conversations.
Now you have the power to reach out to anyone and say, would you love to be on my podcast? Because you can be number 701 or 810, or suddenly it's not like you can be my number 25. So suddenly you have so much more credibility and weight to it, because that shows a lot from a person that perseveres and doesn't give up, and sees the bigger picture and the long game, because it's not about the short game.
And I think, I mean, we're speaking about personal resilience and we're touching on that today. And I think that's part of center. Like, we both run businesses. We've both done it for a very long time. You have a personal story, which we'll touch on as well. But I think that's one of the key elements to showcasing and seeing, the value of what someone offers is the consistency of what they're doing. And not many people can do that, because for me, it's easy to do oh, well, this is going to get eyes on you. This is like, you get noticed. Um, we've got TikTok. Anyone can do that. But the question is, but can you do that for 10 years? Can you do it consistently? Can you, like, every single week, I'm here with someone on this channel doing this? And you kind of go, part of that is carving, and it's showcasing, and it's creating someone who I become, right? And it's the becoming of Kevin. in a different sense. And I think
Yes.
that that's true to resilience and true to being consistent. Like that consistency and that longevity is important to understand the importance of consistency in what it is you're putting out.
Definitely. And I think, but it comes down to what is that bigger picture? Why are you doing this? Because the thing is, if you didn't have a reason why, you would have stopped easily by that time. So if I had to ask you, Kevin, why do you do this? Why, apart from your why is now probably different from when you started, but what is that why? Why do you keep going? What is that bigger picture you want to achieve?
For me, I think because a few years ago, probably 2 years after COVID, I sat down one day, I was thinking, why am I doing this? This is so much work. It's so much effort. And on every single conversation, I have to prepare for the conversation. So it's not just the conversation. There's prep work, and then there's editing work, and then there's getting all of the stuff. And and it boiled down to, I really just want to add value. If I can add value to one person, like you said, starfish story, if I could just add value to one person, and then I'm like, okay, cool. Because when I was younger, I didn't necessarily have that intention from people where someone just wanted to add value to me. So it's a story that I've fulfilled and kind of going, I now can, and I now have the evidence to prove that.
Definitely. And I think sometimes we're going to find people that loves us and we're going to make a difference in that one person. Also, sometimes it's that consistency that allows us to get to the masses, because one thing can lead to impacting 10, 20, 30 people in the end of the day. We never know what the end result can be and how it can go. It's the same. When I started my journey. My why was my kids, my two little boys that got me going. They motivate. You're a dad as well with a beautiful daughter. But the thing is, these little boys are why I do what I do. And that became a thing. And it's still part of my reason why. It's to leave them a legacy and an inspiration. But then I realized, there must be more for me as well. What is it I also want to do is also not give up, because constantly I don't see them. I only see them on holidays when they're with me. And I had the opportunity when I went for a dark place last year. I was writing my book, and I had a lot of reflection about life and where am I going, and all of these challenges, because suddenly business dried up. I couldn't get business. Every quote, people pick up your energy, and my energy impacted where it pushed away a lot of people. I lost big clients. I just reflected about life again, and then I realized is what is my calling? Why did I started this? I left our family business in 2014 to pursue this as a career, to pursue this to change people. And now suddenly when everything went gone, I was like, damn, I was thinking about maybe I should get a job, maybe I should give up. What am I supposed to do? And then I realized is that life, to prepare you for war, is you have to go through training, you have to go through preparation. So you have to go, if you're having a challenge of your mindset, it's preparing you to fight the mental and hard battle, because it's not only the bad times that you have to face, but also the good times. So here's the other thing as well, is that one thing that I realized also for me is that you always have to stay humble and fight ego, because the thing is, now you can fight depression and stress and pain, but the thing is, there's going to be a point where you're going to be top of your game. Is how are you going to handle and treat ego? So that's another battle. So how can we prepare the mind and strengthen the mind, that we can fight ego, but we can also protect ourselves from our enemies, the negative thinking and the depression and all of that. And then I realized this process while writing my book, that this all happens for a reason. So the challenges we all go through life, and the divorce I had when my wife split and stuff, was to prepare me for my journey. Now, everyone's journey is different. It's not to say everyone that's now going to be depressed or get divorced needs to be a motivational speaker. However, it prepares for you that what is ahead of you, that you need to have an impact or in life to get through, so that you can either build your legacy or leave your legacy. And I think that was a big aha moment for me.
Yeah, and it's so true to the reflection part of like really understanding like why are you doing it? Because and I think that's really taps into personal resilience, because I've had that conversation with myself probably every year for the last 10 years. Do you know? And kind of like when people are so they want to do this coaching, I'm like, don't do it. Don't go become a coach. Like, don't do it. And I was like, no, you must understand. Like, and then they're like, why? But you do this. And I was like, no, let me unpack it. And I help them understand. Like, what is it? Why am I saying no? But it really does, because it does one of my coaches actually said to me, "Have you ever thanked your ex-wife for divorcing you?" And I was like, "No, are you out of your mind? What do you mean?" And I had a whole opinion about it until he's like, "No, but like, who would you be today if you didn't go through that?" And I was like, "Ah." And I think another thing that, and you speak about ego, which it was such a, it was like a dark flattening me, was my identity was based around who I would become if I wrote a book, had a YouTube channel, had this business. And I made this identity that I'd be someone, and my daughter would love me. I tied it directly to my daughter's, the love that I have for my daughter. And then like she gets to 17 years old and like she's like, "Dad, I'm busy. I can't speak to you now." So you're like, oh, okay. And then suddenly the meaning and the gravitas of that connection that I've had to the identity of if I was this person, and it's like, oh, to her, I'm just dad. I'm just like, she doesn't care about the podcast. She doesn't care about the fact that I've written books. She doesn't care. And I'm like, oh, okay. So then like it really redefines why the hell you do anything. So, and then you've got to like unpick and that ties back into your resilience. And, you mentioned earlier, like just about having bad days and getting up and doing it. And we do, as humans, we have bad days. We get depressed. I get to a point where people think I'm miserable and nasty and I'm avoiding that. I'm like, I'm not. I'm really like trying to get my brain to understand why I'm having this behavior.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, okay. I'm actually having this behavior because I'm uncovering the being of Kevin. Like, this is who I'm, you know.
It's the same, and I laugh at when you talk about your daughter. My son is now 16, and he's already being changed like that. It's funny, the 11-year-old still says, just as a joke, I gave my oldest a hug, and I said, can I get a kiss, man? Can I get a kiss and a hug? And he's like, no kisses, Dad, just a hug. And the smallest one says, don't worry, you can still give me kisses.
Yeah,
And the difference between all of them. And it's so right that you say it. We sometimes think we're doing this for all others and for our kids, but they're going to grow up and do their own life. And does it really care for them what you do exactly and who you are? For them, you're still their dad, and there's just certain things they need from you, but they're growing up. And I mean, that's why when I started with That's a Why, is you have to figure out what's your next why, because if it's based on a person, that person can grow, can change, and is that enough for you to keep going? So your internal drive should be something else. Should be. It doesn't necessarily have to be big. Sometimes against all of these gurus and get a dream so big and go for it. What's your why? But your why doesn't have to be big. It can be as simple as just living a life that is fulfilled and peaceful and enjoying the work that you already do. You don't have to be rich. And I don't think everyone has to be a billionaire. There's only a percentage of the world that's billionaires. It's not to say everyone's going to become a billionaire. So why not learn to love what you do now, and love your environment and what you have and what's been given to you, and make the best out of those resources so that you can enjoy every second, because the only thing that we in the end of the day have is presence, and it's the now, unfortunately. And that's where one of my tag phrases is live without regret. We only have this life to live, and don't get to a point where we turn 80 and look back and say, I wish I did this and I wish I'd done that, and live with as much as you can to your fullest potential.
Just moving into a bit of your personal story, you were diagnosed with hemophilia as a child and enduring excruciating pain for years, and you still to this day have to deal with it. Don't you? For those who, don't know you, which I'm not sure many South Africans, but there might be some. But I mean, like, for those who don't know you, and because I know I have some really nice international connections as in listeners as well. Take us through the shorter version of that, because I know it's a big story, but tell us, where it started, what happened. You climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, and it's been part of your success story, for all this time.
Yeah, it's telling a speaker to share a story in short, especially when a speaker loves to speak, right? But I think you just, in short, hemophilia is also known as the royal disease, comes from the royalty of Europe. So bleeding disorder means my blood doesn't clot. And so over the years, all of the joints has impacted my joint so much that I need elbow replacements, I need ankle replacements. Luckily, my knees are still good and my hips, but just my cousin that's hemophiliac has already had both his knees replaced and both his hips replaced. To give you an example, this is how straight my elbows goes. It's quite swollen today. You can see there a little bit. So I don't even have muscles. So this, I'm in pain every day. Just walking. Yesterday I was on the road a lot and I couldn't walk when I got home. And I have to inject myself. And it's had a big impact on my life. 16, 17, that I ended up being in a wheelchair, and I had to motivate people. Now, one of the things that I learned over the years was to walk on fire. And after walking on fire, I ended up in a wheelchair. And then people would laugh at me and say, "That's why you ended up in a wheelchair, is because of all the walking on fire." And that's what challenge. And I had to change it. But luckily, walking on fire was part of the metaphor in my life that I needed to prove to me that if you can do that, you can do anything, and that your body has the power to heal itself. I remember part of this journey. About 3 years ago, I ended up with a gallstone, and I had like big business deals in front of me, and I couldn't cancel. And the doctor says, "No, you're gonna operate." And as hemophiliac, I stay extra week in the hospital because I bleed so easily. I can easily bleed to death. And I first asked him, "Is it serious?" He says, "Well, it's not life threatening, but it still has to remove. It's a big one." And so I ask a few friends, and they say, "Cobus, if you can keep it as long as you can do, but it changes your life. Any operation does." So I went and I meditated, and I sat back, and I'm like, okay. And I did Google, and I said, "Doc, I'm not doing it now. I'm going to try the natural part of it, because I know the body knows how to heal itself." And since then, I went on a different diet. I've lost 20 kilograms. And this whole process had such an impact when I did the test again, is that I almost had no gallstones. And they almost wanted to remove my gallbladder. And the same, they wanted to replace my ankles, and they wanted to replace my elbows. And I said to myself, before I'm going to do that life-changing, can I? Now, my part of my hashtag is whatever it takes. Whatever it takes is, if you know you've done whatever it takes and you can't change the result, you've done everything that is possibly possible for you, then why not then then go for it, because you've done whatever it takes. And I said to myself, okay, let me do whatever it takes. And I set to myself a goal to go climb a mountain by the name of Kilimanjaro. And as I planned for going it, most people said, "Cobus, it's not possible. You can't do it." And, in 2018, I went to climb Kilimanjaro. Now, to give you the listeners an idea, I did it with my crutches. There's a picture or two just showing me on the mountain with my crutches. And I went to climb this mountain. And it was the most challenging thing I've ever done in my life, because it pushed me to my limits. Now, there's one lesson I want, if it's the only lesson people can take out of that story, this should be the following lesson. On the night we were summiting, it was 9 o'clock, and I started at 9. The rest only came around 11, 12 o'clock. And because I took longer with my crutches, it's pitch black. You can't see anything. After a few hours, you want to look up, but you only have a headlamp on and you can't see nothing, right? It's minus 17. So it's like snow and essence. So you can't really see far in front of you. You can't even see the person in front of you. And as most of us do, we start complaining, how far? I can't see where I'm going. It's minus 17, I'm cold. And then the chief said to me and says, "Cobus, do the following." And this is the lesson, is that in life, in South Africa, we have load shedding. So sometimes we get darkness and then we can't see anything. We don't even know the way to go put the light on, and where's the candles. Life is going to be like that. What's happening in America and what's happening in Europe might have an impact on us, and it might create all of this chaos. I might lose my job. I didn't get business for a year. Everything just felt like it was falling to pieces. I can't see the light. I can't see the end of the tunnel. I remember being so frustrated even a year ago that nothing works out. And the moment I reminded myself of the moment, the following the guide says, "Look down. In times that you can't see, can you at least see your next step?" And I looked down and I had a headlamp on, and I said, "Yes." He says, "Even though it's darkness all around you and you can't see the top and you don't know how far it is and you have all of these voices, remind yourself just to focus on giving that next step." And I remember that became a focus point of what is that next step that I forget everything, forget all of this chaos and what the gurus and everyone is saying. Okay, what should I be doing? Because I know where I'm going. You at least need to know where you're going. I know I was going to the top of the mountain, but to get there, when I can't see anything, is I can only see what's giving my next step. And I mean, that was the biggest lesson for me out there. And that reminded me when I was stuck last year is to look down, okay, nothing is working out. Come back to the basic. What's the next thing I need to do? Just give that next step. Okay, what's the next step after that? Keep giving that. And before you know it, you start moving forward. And before you know it, your focus is so on that and not on all of the chaos around us. The moment you look up and then suddenly you start seeing a sunrise and you go sit down, and you look around, you're almost at the top of the mountain, and suddenly it's the highest sunrise in Africa. And then you realize it's all just focusing on giving that next step. And that was for me the most powerful learning of that experience.
Yeah, I mean, every time I hear the story, it's chills me. It gives me chills, like from the from the beginning, because it really is. And I think I haven't. I mean, I don't. I'm not in your position. But I've had some dire moments in my life where you kind of you just feel like this. I don't know what the next step is. I just that there is no answer. There's no one to call. Everyone else has their own problems and own issues. It's not like I have a quick free line to phone someone either. That internal kind of mechanism going, well, if I just did this one thing, and you just do that one thing, and when I've done that one thing, I'll do the next thing, and almost broke it down into half an hour segments, where I would be like, okay, for this half an hour, I'm going to do this thing. And then when I'm done that, I'm going to do the next thing. And it's, just hearing it from your context as well. It reminds me of, you know, those moments where we think all is lost and it's just, you can't do more than you've done. And, that next step is so vitally important to your own personal resilience. And I think what stands out above that is that moment. And I can only imagine that moment where you see the sunrise and you got to that point, the elation and the overwhelming sense of achievement that comes with just doing that one step and achieving that.
So a South African story that I like to use, just a metaphor. So his name is Kurt Darren. Kurt Darren, if you ever listen to this, it's just a metaphor using you as an example.
Yes.
Kurt Darren, when he started playing music, he used to play in a lot of pubs. Nobody really knew who he was. He was paid to play night after night in different pubs. Singing in English, by the way. He was an English singer, trying to be in the pub scene and getting people to dance. Until one day someone met him and said, you need to start singing Afrikaans. And so he started singing Afrikaans. And he had CDs. Did you know he had CDs? But nobody knew he had CDs because nobody bought the CDs because he wasn't famous. And that's the thing is like with you, Kevin, is you're going to do, you're at 700 now, and it might be number 999 that it happened, is that it will take one moment that will go viral that will have the biggest impact. And that's what people need to know, the difference between a one-hit wonder and a superstar. So a one-hit wonder, the moment they become a one-hit wonder, they have nothing to fall back on for people to go and find because they only have the one hit, right? With Gert, yes, he's made music over the years, and the moment he brought out, it was Macy Macy, and it became famous. People want to like, do you have more songs, Gert? And then like, yeah, I have a CD, and then suddenly it's Hemel op Tafelberg. The songs were there. People, you could give the market. So when the moment you have one that goes freaking viral, people are like, who else that you interviewed? And they're going to start listening, and then the rest of the numbers are going to go up. And that's what people don't realize is you have to be in that persistent mode, getting to a point. And yes, maybe nothing happens, but it takes one day, one moment, one right person to see it or hear you or give you that opportunity, and it opens up everything. Now, yes, after that, life happens. Suddenly you become Kurt, you become old. Sorry, Kurt, if you're old. Luckily he doesn't know me. You get old. You're suddenly not in the music industry anymore. People don't listen to you. It's like they're almost forgotten about you. And then it takes suddenly one song, hop, hop, spinner, cop, and suddenly you are famous again. Because guess what? It just takes one more because you have it already. You just need to give the market what they want, and suddenly you're famous, and they suddenly listen to all of your songs and remixes. And that's what people don't always realize is it's the long game. It's not that having that instant gratification, but thinking about it long term, and also not only giving you what you want, but giving the world what they need.
Absolutely. I love that. And yeah, shout out to you, good Darren. So I've got some fast firing questions for you. And just to like pick your brain. So when everything falls apart, what part of you stays standing and why?
Part of me still staying. That's not interesting, I would say. My mind, because if everything falls apart, that's the only thing that keeps me sane and it keeps me focused. Because I've been so used to laying in bed and not being able to move and stuff. So I've had to learn with a wild imagination. I can close my eyes and I can create a different world. I have my own VR headset inside of my mind. So yes.
Whose voice do you hear in your head when things get tough? And is it helping or hurting? I can imagine.
Interesting. It's actually doing both, by the way. It's actually my dad's voice. Even though he's still alive, I still hear him because he likes to preach, but he also has a lot of wisdom. So in times of needing it, there's sometimes good, how can I say, nuggets when his voice comes in that I take on and says, okay, my dad most of the time was been right and his insights are worth it. It's only times when I want to do something is he's critical, that the one other side of his voice, the critique one. When I started this journey, how he criticized me about what I do and how I do it. And then that will be the other voice. So that will be the other voice coming in and says, yeah, but being critical on me. And that sometimes is not good. So I've learned to sort of shut that out and start focusing on the other voice that has a lot of wisdom. And that's had an impact. There was a point where I didn't do any videos for social media because of one point when I started, me and my dad wasn't sitting around the same table. He was criticizing me a lot, so much so that I stopped doing videos. And it's got me now only after years starting again to say, okay, I'm not going to listen to that voice. I'm going to listen to the wise words of him than the negative side. And that's how it impacted my life.
Last question, then I want to talk about your book and where you can tell everyone where to find it. If your resilience had a voice, what would it say to you right now?
Right now, whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
And that's constantly in my head, whatever it takes. And then live without regret. Those two is constantly in my mind. And the reason why whatever it takes is to keep pushing, when I don't want to pick up the phone and when I don't want to talk to someone is do whatever it takes. But also the live without regret. There's still times that I do regret things and I say, oh, shucks, I should have done that. And but it's training myself to not regret things. And just to give you an idea, when I grew up, I was really put in a lot of cotton. I couldn't do a lot of things because I'm gonna get hurt and you're gonna hurt yourself and you can't do this because you're a hemophiliac, etc. So then it would stop me from doing stuff. And I had to teach myself to do these crazy things. And if I want to talk to someone, let's say there's a famous person walking, to have that guts, and am I gonna regret tomorrow that when I walk away that I didn't go and greet them or take a selfie with them? I'm just using that as an example. Or walking past a CEO that I'm going to talk to them or not because it might be potential business. Do I believe in myself that that I'm the answer for them? And if I will regret it and straining my mind that I should take action because I don't want to get to 50, 60, 70 years old and I had the opportunity to live to my truest potential and yet I didn't, to regret the certain choices I made. So it's to that constantly is in my mind, whatever it takes and live without regret.
I love that. And it so resonates with me because and I don't know when I made this decision, but years ago, I made the decision that if I'm doing it, I'm not going to regret it. Like I just
Yes.
like, because it's futile and you get so caught up in, oh, but what if, and I've just made a decision of going, if you're doing it, don't regret it because it's not, you can't undo it. So just do
Yeah.
it. Right.
Yeah.
And
Learn
I
from it.
think it's so significant because it really puts you into a forward kind of motion of getting stuff done and just living fuller, I think. But Cobus, tell us about your book. You've recently released your new book, and tell us. I mean, I know it's got the Viking warrior story to it. Tell us about what is that about? How are you connecting the Viking to it, and what can we find in this book?
Yeah, interesting. It's a memoir. So it's my memories of my life and journey, and especially focusing around the climbing of Kilimanjaro and the legacy that I want to leave behind. I remember when we made our previous recording that we did an interview, I was Superman, and I was branded as the Superman persona and living this persona. And things changed. I was 39. I didn't fit into my Superman suit anymore. And I was sitting down and reflecting about who am I now? I've transformed, I've changed. I'm not a Superman character anymore. And I went on a self journey reflection with a coach of who am I, where come I from. I did DNA test to see where my history ancestry comes from. And so I started looking into that. And when I found it, it's there in Northern Germany and Scandinavia. I went to look at those cultures and what stood out, apart from they being warriors. And there's a few things that started connecting with me. One is values. Values is very important for me. And I think if we don't know what we stand for, we will fall for everything. And so some of the values that have an impact, the Vikings had 9 values to have heart. So they call it the virtues of the Vikings, the values of the Vikings. So it's heart, it's courage, it's honor, discipline, action, consistency, truth, fidelity, and perseverance. And they lived by these values, but also they created freedom. They were fearless. They didn't mind dying. They had strong faith. They were community. They were orientated. Men and women were equal. So that was important for me because not one is stronger than another as a team. So that was the one thing. And the biggest thing for me that then connected with me was my 3 values. There's courage, to be courageous, to do things no matter how scared you are, to have freedom, to be free and to create that freedom lifestyle. That's why I don't work for someone. So freedom is very important for me. And then the last one was legacy. Okay, and the thing about legacy is, would you have loved to have a book, if you could go buy your book at the back and pick one out of maybe your father that wrote it, or your grandmother, or your great grandfather, and you read it? And it doesn't have to be a biography, but it could be stories, it could be life lessons of where they come from. That would have been amazing, right? Now, why did we leave that for our future generation? So the main purpose around the book came of leaving my story for my kids. That if I had to die today and they had to give to their kids to say, who's your dad? Or who's your dad, your grandfather? Where you coming from? This is him. And whenever you go through difficult times, go read his book because it will inspire you to not give up. So imagine that and the next generation. It just happened to be that I'm a speaker as well, and that I am selling this and giving this to people at seminars. I'm selling it, but the main purpose was to leave a legacy for my future generation, so that if I had to die today, that I won't be forgotten.
Yeah, I love that. And the fact that it just aligns with your value system as well, like, it just, you can see how that just ties into who you are and what you become.
And you can see that.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely see the Viking streak. Yeah, yes, absolutely. Just final sentiments of, if anyone listening, what do you want to leave people, the audience, with today, and just your final thoughts on today's conversation?
Yeah, just to remember and find your purpose. That your purpose is in this life is to grow into a mountain, your mountain. It can be a big mountain, a small mountain, but grow into your mountain. And not to shrink into that grain of sand, not to be the smallest and not being seen. You have so much destiny and purpose around you in a grain of sand. And then from now on, apply all of your efforts to grow into that highest mountain of all and strain your potential until it cries for mercy, whatever it takes. And go and live without regret, because at the end of the day, we have this one life. And whoever is listening to this now at this moment, just know you are now the youngest you will ever be in your life. So go and create the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years, the best years of your life.
Amazing. Yes, you are. You are the youngest you'll ever be right now. Cool, guys. Please remember to like and share and tune into the Lunchtime Series every Wednesday and Thursday. And if we want to get hold of you, go to cobusvisser.com. Guys, we will have the links in the Dropbox below. And lastly, before we go, Cobus, where can we get the book?
Okay, so the book, if you search the book, it's on Amazon. It's in Africa that people can order it, and they can even go to my website and order from my website or reach out to me. There's a few exclusive books. I know the airport exclusive books have it. The one in Colonnade in Pretoria has it. I know the one, there's a few in Cape Town that has it as well. So by just searching for the book Cobus Visser, Viking, Walking Through Fire, you will see any place that is easy for you to buy. So it's basically everywhere that people can get it. And if you're overseas, you can even buy a printed copy through Amazon as well. So you don't have to have the ebook version.
Fantastic, guys. So we'll leave the links in the description boxes below. Cobus, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. And it's always just such a pleasure chatting to you. Cheers for now.
Brother, and it was thank you for the opportunity again. May you go from success to success. Remember, when nobody sees you, we all see you. And
Thank you.
all the best for you and your journey for 2025, and may you thrive this year and go from strength to strength.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Cheers for now.